Howdly doodly there, neighborinos. Hope you're having a flanderific day. Um, this is gonna be kind of a short one. Um, so what? Why do I have random things in my inventory? What the? Okay, all right, whatever. Um, yeah, this is gonna be kind of a short one. I don't have too much to talk about today. Because there was only like 3 chapters of Job left. Which I mean I finished, and we're going to talk about those, but I didn't really continue on any further. Um, I guess the first thing that we should talk about is, wow, is it a great miracle or what that it seems like that National Guard member is going to live. Um, yeah, he was shot in the head. I mean, the one National Guard did die, but it seems like the other one is going to live, which is just an incredible miracle. 100% like a God thing. Because it doesn't seem like he's got um, any swelling of the brain or anything like that. Um, and he's still like, I wouldn't say like good. It's still a little like scary, but man, the fact that he's still alive and it looks like he is gonna recover is just a miracle. Um, so definitely praise be to God for that. Um, I guess I just want to talk about the rest of the book of Job at this point. Um, so God basically just tells him how much more powerful he is than Job and all of the things that God can do, like how he is the master of all of nature, essentially. Um, he talks about how he's bigger than Behemoth and more powerful than Behemoth and can control him, um, and that he plays with Leviathan. Um, and I mean, I guess we should probably talk about that because people like to point to that and be like, dinosaurs in the Bible, see? And it's like, no. So, my. If we're going to be generous and say that that is like, those are 100% real creatures and not like representations of just all of land animals and all of um, sea creatures, like given extra hyperbole to show just how powerful all of these creatures are. If we're going to be generous and say that it is in fact a real creature, we're probably looking at like a hippo, which I know is not the most satisfactory answer because it talks about scales, I believe, and it talks about a tail. Um, but also, a lot of dinosaurs did not have scales. Many of them, well, I don't know exactly how many of them. Some had feathers. Um, like Velociraptor had feathers. 'Cause it's you know, it's not quite a bird, but it's on the road to getting there. Um, yeah. So like I said, we're probably looking at that, or perhaps an elephant. It could be an elephant. The Leviathan could be like, again, if we're being generous and we're saying that this is 100% an actual creature, could be some kind of sea beast. I'm more open to there being some kind of massive sea creature that we have not yet discovered than I am to there being like a dinosaur that survived past when we know dinosaurs went extinct. I'm more open to that because we're constantly discovering new sea creatures all the time. And, I mean, we only recently, in the grand scheme of things, discovered that giant squids were a thing. We used to think that that was just like an old sailor's myth or whatever, until we ended up finding, like, washed up squids, like giant squids in, like, the 90s. So I'm more open to there being some kind of giant sea creature. I don't think it breathes fire. I know it says the fire breathing, but that I think is just thrown in for hyperbole, you know, to make it seem more powerful than what it actually is, you know, because I feel like some people point to that and say it's a dragon, and it's like, but it's not a dragon, because dragons aren't real. Like I said, very open to it being some kind of giant sea creature that we have not yet discovered. Because, again, we've discovered so little of the ocean that it is very possible that there could be some kind of giant sea creature just out there that we don't know about. That, you know. But I don't see there being some kind of dinosaur or something living somewhere. You know, that's just it just don't make no sense. So, okay, I guess that's all we really need to talk about with that. Like I said, I could see it being some, essentially, if we're being generous, what I think it is it's just a representation of every land and sea creature. I don't think it's specifically like one living creature. I think it's just out there to be like, yeah, no, all of it that does all of these things, you know. I control that. Let's see. What else happens after that? Well, after he describes Behemoth, he basically says that, you know, Job, you were wrong to go through and like question me, essentially question my motives. I mean, I guess not to question him, but like I said, to question his motives, saying that, you know, he had like God had like abandoned him and hated him or whatever. He was wrong to do that. But he also says that all of his friends who were basically trying to say that he did something, they were also wrong. And then he asks them to give Job sacrifices so that Job can pray for them and like sacrifice things for them, because God still thinks Job is pretty cool. And then of course Job repents too, and God seems very accepting of it. And yeah, then he just ends up blessing Job, gives him more kids, more of everything he lost. But yeah, no, it's a good story of having faith in God and I guess not jumping to conclusions about God's motives on things. Um, yeah, I kind of wish we would have gotten like a close loop, I guess, where God and Satan talk again afterwards. But yeah, I don't know. Um, Honestly, I would be interested to know like how that part got written down. I mean, I guess they could have told God could have told Job that happened afterward, and they put it at the beginning of the book when it chronologically happened instead of when God told them it happened, if that makes sense. So it would have happened in like historical chronology rather than like as the author is being told about what happened. Um, yeah, that would be my best guess. Uh, I don't know. It's certainly interesting to think about, I suppose, how exactly all of that got passed along. And who wrote the book too? I really am not too sure. It is an old book, one of the older ones in the Bible. Um, and I want to say it was possibly written down before Genesis. So like I said, it's an old book. Um, and if I didn't mention this already, it seems to take place in the era of the patriarchs. But Job is not part of the patriarchs, which is also very interesting. That he's just like a dude from another family that also knows and recognizes and worships God. Um, which I feel like you wouldn't get that if it was like a fake story. I feel like they would pick a character already mentioned, like I don't know, like Enoch or something. Um, because I mean that if you were, I know that there is a book of Enoch, and I do believe that's true, but that's because it just fits so well with everything that we know in the Bible. But like, if you were to fake a book, the story of Job, but instead of it being Job, it being like Enoch or a character that was previously mentioned in the Bible, would make it less convincing, I would say, because it's like, oh well, they picked a good like moral or whatever, and they just picked a character that you already know, that was already mentioned in the Bible before. Whereas Job is kind of a random choice. It's from a random, not even like the lineage of Abraham. Um, yeah. And I guess the fact that it was written beforehand, before Genesis, is also pretty um, compelling. But yeah, no, it's a great book. It's definitely worth a read. Um, I mean, I guess the entire Bible is worth a read, but if you're looking to kind of like pick and choose books, that would be a great one to choose. Um, yeah, and like I said, the moral of the book is great. Just having faith in God, and that it's all going to work out. If you do keep that faith, and that also rushing to judgment on what's happening in your life, rushing to judgment on God, um, is not very smart, just because he's so beyond our comprehension. God sees the full picture, we only see part of the picture. So, yeah, I don't know if I have a whole lot else to add on to this. Like I said, it was going to be a bit of a short one today. Maybe next week I'll have more for you, because I'll go ahead and I'll start up another book, and I can kind of do like the whole Spark Notes version that I kind of do here. And maybe we'll see if we can read the Book of Job here soon in like an actual SFC. Actually, no, it's probably not going to happen for some time, because I don't know if we've started the book of First Timothy, but I mean, if we haven't, spoiler alert, we're picking the book of First Timothy. Also very sad. I don't think that we're gonna do the debate anymore. I don't see that happening. I was ready for it, but I guess G and Steven weren't, so yeah. Sorry about that. I would go over that, like some of the stuff today, but like at the same time, we've kind of already been over it. If you're really familiar with the Southern Fried Conviction series, we I guess we didn't go into as much detail as I would have gone in the debate, but we've certainly gone through enough of it to where it wouldn't really be anything too new. And I don't think it would have been as interesting if it was just me repeating all of the things to the void, I guess, than it would be if if I was telling it to someone who may not necessarily agree with everything I'm saying, and getting like a fresh perspective on it, which was kind of going to be the idea. One of those real Thomas Sowell moments, where we're teaching you how to think and not what to think. You can go ahead and pick either side. It doesn't particularly matter. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I think it kind of matters, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. The only reason I would say I think it kind of matters is because I feel like some people who are not in the faith, and I know I went really hard on this before, but I've kind of softened up on it, but yet I still kind of feel this way a little bit. I feel like if you go around saying things that are just very unscientific, like, for example, humans lived with dinosaurs, I feel like most people who are not Christian are going to hear that, and they're going to further reject Christianity like even more, because they know that is not the case. Just because that's what science tells us, and science is literally based solely upon what we can like observe and study. And if we're looking at it and we're like, yeah, but here, see, we know that this does not happen, they're going to be like, oh, well, clearly this is just fake and you're just making shit up. So yeah, like I said, personally, I think it's kind of a deal, but it's not like at the end of the day, a super big deal, because regardless of what you believe on that, as long as you believe in Jesus, you're going to heaven, and that's the important thing. But I think from a standpoint of getting people to join the faith and be interested in the faith and all of that, you have to present a realistic worldview. You can't be disingenuous, and you can't mislead or cope, you know? And I feel like that's what a lot of people see and a lot of people hear when they hear Christians say, oh yeah, humans and dinosaurs coexisted. They hear cope, or people just lying to them. And people like genuineness. They like reality. I mean, I guess unless you're a Democrat. So yeah, that's why I'm not particularly a big fan of all of that, and why I think it can be damaging. But I don't think it really. If you believe in Jesus, it doesn't matter if you believe that or not. Yeah, but that's my whole point in saying it kind of matters, but it doesn't really matter at the same time. Yeah. Because I see that a lot on, there's a channel I quite enjoy, that I get the feeling Stephen and G would probably not enjoy too much. Gutsick Gavin, I think, is, I don't know, I call her the monkey lady. Because she is a, what do you call it? She like studies primates, essentially. She's a wealth of knowledge, very, very, very knowledgeable. She's kind of funny too. And kind of her whole deal is going through and epically wrecking young Earth creationists. That's kind of her style, I guess. And I see a lot of people in the comments when she goes through and proves how a lot of these people are like flat out lying, or they're misrepresenting facts and details and scientific studies. It drives people away. Like, very, very badly. And I think if our objective is to make heaven as crowded as it can possibly be, you're doing a disservice by going through and saying these things. Because people will see it and they'll get caught up on that, and that's not what they need to be caught up on. And I feel like rather than trying to make everything fit into a literal sense of what is like word for word written in the Bible, I think we need to focus on the message of the Bible, and be open to saying that things are not to be taken as literally, and that some things are just kind of poetic. And I mean, people don't have a problem with saying some things in the Bible are poetry. So I don't know why there would be such a big problem saying other parts of it are poetry as well. Like, you could take a look through, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a random book a random, like, kid's book. I don't know, this isn't the greatest example, but I'll do it. The giving tree. We all know that there isn't a tree out there that was talking with some kid and told him to take what he needed, essentially, right? Right, we all know that that is just a story. That's just, it's not 100% how it happened. However, we can take a look at the moral of the story that we shouldn't just give everything away until we have, like, nothing. The reason I say that it's not the greatest example is because you could make an argument that as a Christian we should be giving everything until we have nothing. But what the hell is up with you? Oh, he probably drowned. I don't know why he wouldn't have just gone up for air. Okay. Sleep with the fishes. How have I just now gotten that? What the? That's so weird. Sorry, rando achievement there, and that's just super bizarre. But yeah, just because not every literal aspect of it is to be taken literally, just not, every single word taken super literally as it is written, does not make anything less, And that's kind of the whole, I guess you could say, thesis of what I'm saying here in regards to that. And I mean, that goes back to Behemoth as well. Like, it takes so much effort and so much unscientific cope to say that is referring to a dinosaur, when we know that based on science and the fossil record and all of this, that dinosaurs went extinct, like, before early humans existed, or, like, even just the whole evolution bad. I don't understand why that's such a, like, a big deal. Evolution bad. I don't, because it's like, at this point, even, the hardest of Bible thumpers will agree that evolution is in fact a thing. Like, well, certain microevolution is a thing, and it's like, so why can't you say that macroevolution would be a thing? Because, like, it's like building a house in Minecraft, right? So, like, oh, I'm gonna illustrate my point real quickly. Well, honestly, if only I had like a video recording of me going through and building all of this, because that would be a great example of evolution. Yeah, and we'll also do some building, just some brief building, nothing too fancy. And we'll probably end up finishing it at another point. Take some of these. Some of these. I love the jungle leaves. We'll grab some oak. Should be good. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ultra, what does this have to do with evolution? I'm going to show you. You need to hold on to your britches, alright? Because I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what this has to do with evolution. And you're going to be like, dang, Ultra, wow. 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 It's going to be you. Just get ready for it. Oh, I don't... Okay. I'm a dingbat. Because I think this is... Yeah. Yes. Just gonna throw like some in here. So many different building blocks, you know? Hold your britches. We're almost ready. Oh, well. I thought we had some... I thought we had some wildflowers there somewhere. Should have a farm for them. No. Oh, some of these might be kind of cool. Bushes, the bushes. Do I not have a wildflower farm? What the fuck? I thought I had a wildflower farm. It shouldn't be that hard to set up, so I don't know. Excuse me? Why did that knock me back? Ugh. Maybe it's down here? No. Alright, I gotta deal with that. Fucking hair in my mouth. Gross. Well, Oh, I know what I can do. I know what I can do. I know what I can do. Not a hashtag BD or anything, you know, but... little inconvenient. I'm sorry, this is taking such a long time to get to this example. Where's the bone meal? Where's the bone meal? Where did I put it? I know we've got bone meal in here. I know it. Here. You know what? Fuck it. Wow, we've got a lot of bones in here. Haha. Big brain, yes. That'll work. We'll throw the bones in here, we'll throw that in there. And now we just gotta go downstairs and put this up. And we can go ahead and get on with this long-winded explanation here, you know? Perfect. Oh, wait, it's over here. Where do I want to make this start? But it's like, you know, evolution is kind of like this, right? So we go ahead and start off with like this little leaf here, right? And then we go ahead and do some more like little, like, gonna do like a little archway thing, I think. Right, we just kind of start off with this, right? Though it's kind of weird that it doesn't like fully match up, and that kind of grosses me out. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this so it's like symmetrical. Yeah. But yeah, you start out with that, right? Which we may not even keep, but matter of fact, I know we're not going to keep this because I really don't like it. We'll figure out something for that later, but we'll go ahead and we'll just go over here. And it's like, put some bushes here, right? And you start out with just this, right? You just start out with only leaves, right? And that's pretty similar, right? You know, you've got bushes here, you know. Nothing too crazy, nothing too crazy, and it's the same thing, and oh. But then, like, I don't know, maybe you throw in one of these, right? And it's like, well, it's still a bush. It's still a bush, you know. There's no reason that you wouldn't call that a bush. But it's a little different, right? And this whole area, right? This whole area, we've just got bushes, right? But you wouldn't quite call this a garden, right? But then, like, you keep going through, and it's like, well, these are just bushes here. you know. And maybe you plant a few of them, like one like right here or something. And you throw in like some of these, right? And then I'm doing a really bad job of this. I'm probably going to have to redo this entirely. And then you throw in like some flowers here. Oh wow, look at that, you know. And then maybe you do like a little like pattern of flowers somewhere, you know, like maybe do like a little like walkway kind of deal, right? And it's like, well, these are still bushes, but it's changed. We're getting into an area where you might call this like the startings of a garden, you know, or like some kind of like something, right? And then like maybe on the outside you got some of these different flowers. And it's like it's slowly changing. However, you know, it's these are all small changes that we've made to this area. You know, me putting down a block changed the area. Me continuing to put down blocks has changed the area, and now we've got a quite different area than when we first started putting things down. So that's my whole point, is like it's different, but it is technically, you know, it's still the same like space, you know, would be kind of the deal I'm going for, I guess. It's still behind the church. It's still technically the same land. Whereas, like, you know, how you, like, can't evolve out of a clade, you know? But, yeah. I don't know how much I like this, but we'll probably end up changing this at some point. But yeah, we've got a very little different area than what we had when we first started. And it's just by me making a bunch of small changes, you know? And that essentially is evolution. It's just a bunch of small changes that happen, and we're not sure if it's at a rapid or a quick pace. This could, you know, certain environmental factors can change things to where they might, you know, evolve a bit faster than they might normally do. I feel like this was a lot of pointlessness to get here. I feel like a lot of grinding to get to this very small point that I didn't explain that great. But yeah, I guess we'll call it an episode here. I don't feel like really building this out, and I doubt I'm even gonna keep this the way I've got it. I don't think I like it very much. My idea was this was gonna be like some kind of like little bush path, kind of, maybe not quite a maze, you know, but something you can just kind of walk in with like rows of bushes and flowers everywhere. I don't know. Ugh. You can put it down in the comment section below if you like it, and maybe I'll work with it. I don't think I like it. And I kind of wanted to make it like a little bit of a cross, but we'll see. I might just tear it down and try again. But the whole point that I was making, and I guess I probably would have done it better if I had the footage for this, about evolution, is like you take a look at this area around my house, right? First, I started off with just flat land, right? Just flat land. And then I went through and I mossed the entire thing. Or, I mean, I guess it wasn't flat land. It was a little uneven. But anyway, I started with clear land. There wasn't anything on here. And then I went and I mossed it down, right? That was the first thing I did. Minor change. It still very much looked like this right here, what we've got here. It looked very much like this. Just grass, right? When we first started. And then I mossed it. Not a huge change. It's still essentially the same thing. And then I went through and I replaced all of the dirt along the side of this little moat area here. I replaced that with stone, cobblestone, tuff, andesite, mossy cobblestone, right? And then it started to look a little different, right? And then I went through and I built these boulders that you see everywhere. These little like boulders right here. And then it started to look different from like over there, because you know you had like all of these boulders happening, right? And then the next thing I did was I went and I started building the trees, right? And then it looked pretty different, you know, because it had the boulders and you had like the trees. And then I went through and I started adding candles to everywhere. And then it really started to look different with all these colorful candles everywhere. And then I started adding in the large bushes that you see here and here. And I don't think I had space for one over here, right? And that looked really different. And then I started adding in all of the smaller bushes too. And all of like the flowers and the sweet berries and all of that shit. The moss carpets on the boulders too. And then I went through and I added, or maybe that was it. I felt like there was something else I went in and did afterwards. But yeah, essentially that is what I did. Oh, I added like these over here. But yeah, like that essentially is what I'm getting at with the evolution, is like I made a bunch of small changes, right? Like adding in a couple of trees, adding in a couple of boulders, adding in a few large bushes, adding in a bunch of like small flora, right? And then after a while, it was so many small changes that it's unrecognizable as to what it was before and has become something new. It's still the same area of land, right? It's just drastically different than what it started as, but it's still the same land. And like that's what I don't get, is like, why can't birds be dinosaurs? Yeah, they look drastically different, but the starting point was the same. It's just a bunch of small changes that took place over time, much like what we're looking at here. And to make it even better, I didn't even do like all of the bushes, all of the trees, all of the rocks at once. I did it in like sections. I did it in like quarters. I first started off with falling. I mean, I guess I mossed the entire thing at once. But I first started with this area up top, like from like right here-ish to like right here. This is where I started bouldering and started building trees, right? And then I got that all done, and then I started on, like, from this tree to, like, right here, to this bush, right? And then I kind of filled that in, because that didn't take a whole lot of time, and then I kind of filled this in next, and, like, this whole, like, wraparound area. Added this tree, and then that tree. It's also kind of weird that I decided to add a tree here. But it's fine. Because there wasn't any room for a tree over there, and I kind of wanted a tree over here. But yeah, and then I moved on, and I did this little wraparound area, and I did this cave entrance, and this tree. And then I finished off and did this. I think this boulder was the first one I did. So I just wanted to see, like, if I could build a good boulder. And I wasn't super happy with this one, but I wasn't super unhappy with it either, which is why it's still here. But yeah, again, this didn't all happen, like, at once. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm beating this point to death. So I'm going to go ahead and end the episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.